So, one idea that stood out to me that I found interesting was the idea of dialectical tension. Dialectical tension has two parts to it. You have internal dialect, which is within the relationship, as well as external dialect, which is between the couple and the community. There are three types of common dialectics: integration and separation, stability and change, and finally expression and non-expression. I think what stood out to me that had to do with dialectic was how opposite the types of dialectics are from each other. For example, integration and separation are one type of dialectic, but they both mean the exact opposite from one another. Within a relationship, integration and separation in internal dialectic is connection and autonomy, which is the idea that you want to be connected to who you're with, but at the same time, being able to have your own say in what you want to do.
Yeah, so for when I looked at the chapter, what kind of brought a little bit of confusion to me, I was looking under stability and change in relationships. The balance between stability and change in relationships kind of brings up some confusing ideas about what makes relationships work. While it is said that without variety, relationships become bland and boring and emotionally dead, it does raise a question of how much change is actually necessary. Isn't stability important too? How do we figure out when a relationship is in need of variety versus when it is just being disrupted unnecessarily? The idea that certainty and uncertainty in relationships are reflected in conventionality and uniqueness makes things even trickier. Conventionality is about following norms, while that may provide stability, does it limit the personal connection and expression between people? On the other hand, uniqueness focuses on differences. Could this cause a relationship to feel disconnected or less relatable, even if it is important to acknowledge individuality? When talking about conventionality, we consider how a relationship is similar to others, but can we really compare one relationship to another without losing what makes it special? And when we emphasize uniqueness, can we still maintain a sense of shared understanding? Trying to balance both stability and change, conventionality and uniqueness seems like a tough contradiction. Can a relationship ever have both without feeling torn between the two, or is it always a struggle to keep both in check? These questions leave us wondering how to achieve the right mix of variety in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, to go off of that, I also wanted to focus in on expression and non-expression and its purpose. And I think that expression with like its varying definitions and opinions on openness, like via cultural background or what should not be talked about. And for non-expression, like an example in the textbook was divorced families and separate households and how more difficult it is to keep up with lives when you're separate. So I think that's really interesting to talk about, especially with like how communication is such an important part of relationships. And so further in that, there was non-openness and openness. And for openness, there was also a part with third parties like the society, such as concealment of sexuality and who you decide to express yourself with and who you don't. And I think that's really focuses in on the question of our ideas and beliefs, what forms our ideas and beliefs about openness and expression. So like our beliefs come from our family, friends, and society in general. And so it really changes based on how we focus on our ideas and beliefs and how we grow up in those groups. And the overall purpose is to show how we as a society decide about our own communication and what we should or should not share with others, and how this communication or lack of communication can affect our personal relationships.
So the this theory it has many differences from other theories. Like this theory, they differ because communication theories it focus from other communication theories because it focuses on the differences and tensions in a relationship. So like one example, which was uncertainty reduction theory, This that theory focuses on predictability. So the relational dialects theory has relationships changing constantly due to tensions and differences, and due to those tensions and differences, instead of resolving the conflict, the relational dialectics theory suggests that both parties in the relationship should have to manage the conflict through communication and negotiation.
Also, to piggyback off of what Morgan said about expression and non-expression, it made me think of an example and a time I had with contradiction and discursive struggle with my best friend. And basically, her boyfriend, who was also my friend, was cheating on her, and I caught him cheating because I found him with another girl on social media. And I knew I had to tell her, but it wasn't easy. And they've been together for so long, and I didn't know if I was supposed to be the one to give her that news. So I usually like to stay out of my friends' relationships issue, especially since I was cool with the both of them, because it's just simply not my place and it goes against um just like my personal morals and things like that. And so I think the internal dialect within the relationship and scenario was expression and non-expression dialect. I felt in the moment that I was being pulled in two different directions for different reasons and had a sense of openness and closeness at the same time. And it was just a very hard decision for me. I wanted to tell my friend because she deserved to know, but I was also scared to hurt her and lose my other friend in the process. And so it was just very hard for me, and it was something that stressed me out for a while, but I realized that it is just a part of life and it is a part of how we handle our relationships and how we communicate with each other. And that's something that the chapter also talked about as well, how we stress out about these things and really it's just our normal everyday way of talking to each other and communicating and handling different scenarios. And by the way, I did end up telling her. So, yeah.